So who wants to be a disciple? Make some noise. Anybody wants to be a disciple? Okay, few. Who wants to be just like, I'm just in the crowd, want to get healed? Okay, a lot of those guys. Okay, a lot of those people. I wonder how many of us, are you challenged? Are you willing to step into or get to the edge of what's possible? This sounds like, okay, this is great, but what does it look like practically? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So why are we trying to live a life and practice a faith that makes sense? All right, I think we are doing so much better now, right? Yeah, we are. Hey, glad you're here. If you're a guest here, this is week 2. This is week 2 of our series of talks that we're calling Expanse, the Expanse. We're just erasing the boundaries. Now, it's been really great. The first one we kicked off, it was really challenging for me as well. But the big idea here is that what if that you and I were able to step into some of the dreams and some of the hopes that we had, but it required for us to really expand our life a little bit. And basically this series is about that. It's about basically going into yourself and going, okay, the kind of life I want to live, am I truly living that? And what would it require? And I believe it requires a couple of things. It requires us erasing the boundaries. It definitely requires us like expanding our faith, but then also activating our faith. So let's jump into it, and we'll talk about what we've been talking about last week. Last week, we talked about this idea of like moving from a logical faith to an irrational confidence in God. A logical faith to an irrational confidence in God. And the passage of scripture that we kind of jumped off from was Hebrews 11. Hebrews 11. Now, let me just read this because this is so powerful in so many levels. It says this. Now, faith is now help me out with this word, is the what? Confidence in what we hope for and the assurance of what we do not see. It is what the ancients were commended for. By faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command so that what is seen was not made out of what is visible. Now the reason why we talk about this and we have images of the universe is that I think for so many of us, we've been living our life a particular way where we don't realize there is so much out there that God wants us to experience. And see, life has a way of just really dimming the lights on us because of things that go wrong in our lives. Like how many of us have had that happen to our lives? And see, the writer of Hebrews says this. He says, actually, faith is and hope are connected. And last week, if you remember, we discovered that you don't need faith if you have nothing you're hoping for. Like if you're not dreaming about anything, you really don't need to trust or believe about anything. And so many of us, we lose heart before we lose faith. It's so true, isn't it, in our lives? And so this series of conversations is really about like reclaiming that and going, maybe, just maybe, God wants me to like go back and try again or look at that part of my life or try that idea again or go to this direction once again, even though it's super scary. And so this passage kind of goes into like different people's faith. And so this morning, I want to talk to you about a guy that he mentions right after verse 3. This is verse 4. He talks about a guy named Abel. Can you say Abel? Anybody know Abel? Anybody know Abel? How do we remember Abel? Cain, right? Those of you who are like, you grew up in church, you're like, yes, Cain. You're like, Cain and Abel, yeah. Okay, so here's the issue with this series, though, or this conversation about Abel's faith. Abel's faith got him what? Killed. It got him killed. So you're like, this is awesome. So that's the talk this morning. A faith that gets you killed. Yes, let's sign up for that. It'll get you murdered. No. But here's what the writer of Hebrews says, okay? He says, by faith, Abel brought God a better offering than Cain did. By faith, he was commended as what? Righteous, when God spoke well of his offering. And by faith, Abel still speaks, even though he is what? He still speaks. A faith that speaks even though the person is dead. Why does the writer here put his name in like the list of people who have great faith. Why does he do that? Which, by the way, we're going to go through most of those names in this series. But Abel is kind of interesting. A faith in kind of that can get you into trouble. And as I was thinking about this, I thought, you know what? I was reminded about a story that just still blows my mind. Because sometimes we don't realize our faith affects not just us and our people in our household, it affects the people around us. And sometimes it affects people that we just don't even know. The life that you're living right now, the expansive life or the limited life that you're living right now, the faith that you are practicing affects not just you, it affects your kids, it affects your people around you, your friends, your coworkers, it affects the kind of life you live. It truly does, and we don't realize it. So when we are challenged by an opportunity to really exercise faith and be courageous and we cower, it doesn't just affect us and change something inside of us. It also shows the world something. It also tells and communicates a story about us to other people. I was reminded about this because several years ago, we went to California, my wife and I, and her parents took us there. And when we got there the first day, her mom scratched her cornea. Right? First of all, how do you do that? How do you do that? But she did. So we were tasked to go get the stuff that she needed. So it was a brand new city, obviously, but we had a rental car. I jumped in. I was like, this is an emergency. Let's go do this. So I was like speeding my way, getting to the grocery store. I guess, again, not familiar with California stuff there, you know. And so I just pulled in the parking lot. We ran in. We're rushing to get this thing to her. She is in pain. Again, scratched her what? Cornea. Ugh, you don't even want to think about it. So I'm like, let's get some relief going. So as I'm on the counter, like looking in the aisles for what we need, I noticed a guy who's like following us a little bit. And I was like, California people are weird. Okay, not that like, hey, if you're watching from California, hey, love you. It's early too, by the way. But anyways, so I'm like, I'm just going to ignore him. Well, I couldn't ignore him because he just kept on following me and us in different aisles and all that. And I'm like, okay, finally, I was like, what's going on? And so he gets closer, and first thing he says is, hey, who do you think you are? I'm like, this is in Charlotte, so I'm like, I don't know you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I haven't done anything. I'm like, I'm Naeem. I'm like, and he goes, who do you think what's your problem? I'm like, okay, this guy's like in another world. You know what I'm saying? His world has expanded to another universe. He is not in this universe, so I'm just gonna walk away. So I'm like, okay. And then I kept on going. And then then he starts following us, and now he's talking to me or to my back. He's like, hey, what? Hey, listen, what's your problem? You think you rule this world? I was like, dude, what? Rule the world? I'm still trying to stay in the country. What are you talking about? Rule the world? This is before I was a citizen. I was like what? And I'm like, what are you doing? And so he follows us all the way to the checkout counter. Now, my wife and I, we're checking out. He is right here. The person who's checking us out is right there. And now he is getting louder. And he's like, hey, I will beat your, and then he just says all kinds of stuff. I will take you down. I want to fight you. I'm like, first of all, I was like, do you really though? I don't think you want to fight me. Just saying. I don't think so. I don't think so, boy. I don't think so. And he was like, I'll fight you. Come on outside. I'm like, he's so loud, the cashier looks at him, goes, sir. And he's like, you stay out of this. And I was like, and then I just turned to him. I said, hey, I'm not going to fight you. So I look at him. I'm like, hey, I'm not going to fight you. We're good. And then he just follows us, and I'm like, and then it snapped. Now, the story, some of you guys are like, okay, what did you do? I Jackie Chan'd him. No, I didn't do that. Some of you guys are like, what is Jackie Chan? Whatever. Youth. Whatever. Okay? I didn't do anything. And then finally, he said something that made sense. He said, because now we're outside, he says, you think you can just drive up here, not care who's crossing the path. And I was like, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know that when I pulled into the parking lot, you were in the parking lot. I was just so focused on my own thing. I just parked my car. I didn't know. I'm pretty sure I didn't run you over. But I was like, what is going on? And man, at that point, I was like, wow. And then he kept on, and I was like, sir. And I had to kind of get a little aggressive, but then he just backed down because I think I raised my voice loud enough that intimidated him. You know, it's like you go from like sir to sir. And he was like, okay, this is Hulk, and I'm not gonna do this to this guy. This guy's gonna go. I was gonna say Bin Laden on me, but I'm not gonna say that because that's a terrible joke. Right, Mitch? It's a terrible joke. Why did I do that? Sorry, so sorry. Some of you guys are like, what is the point of this talk? There is no point. It's pointless. It's a pointless talk. No. The point is this. I realized that day, like every time I pull into like a shopping center, I reminded of that guy. And I'm so aware now of what I do in life. Now, why is this important? Because Abel's faith is connected so much to the thing that you do not want to try, but you should try. The opportunity that God's giving you, but you're actually backing down from it. There are people in your life and around you that are so connected to what you do in life. And Abel's faith speaks to that. Because when you think about it, what really happened to Abel? So let's jump right in. Genesis 4 tells the story. It talks about these two sons. Now, these two sons were the first two kids. This is Adam and Eve's kids. So this is early on in creation story. It says here, they grew up. Abel became a shepherd while Cain cultivated the what? The ground. When it was time for harvest, Cain presented some, can you say some? Some of his crops as a gift to the Lord. Abel also brought a gift. He also brought a gift. But then the writer says this. What was the gift? Was it some? Was it some? No. What was it? It was the best. It was the best portion of the firstborn lambs from his flock. You have some and then you have what? Best. Some and then you have best. Some, best. The Lord accepted Abel and his gift, but did not accept Cain and his gift. This made Cain very what? Angry. And he looked, what's that word? Yeah, that's the word. Okay. Why are you so angry? The Lord asked Cain. Why do you look so? You will be accepted if you do what is right. But if you refuse, then watch out. Sin is what? Crouching at the door, eager to control you. But you must subdue it and be its master. He's talking to the son of Eve. Sin is right there talking to you. What happened? What got him kicked out of Garden Eden? Sin. He's like, sin, the same thing is talking to you. It's talking to you. I'm telling you, it's telling you to be a certain kind of person that you should not be. It's telling you to become and say and do things, and you do not want to do this. Because if you don't do this, if you don't say no to it, if you serve that sin, if you serve that opportunity, that temptation, it will what? It will master you. But you do not need to be mastered. You need to master it. But what happened? One day, Cain suggested to his brother, let's go out into the fields. And while they were in the fields, Cain what? Attacked his brother, Abel, and killed him. Afterwards, the Lord asked Cain, where is your brother? Where is Abel? I do not know, Cain responded. Am I my brother's guardian? In other translations, it says, am I my brother's what? Keeper. We all know that story. We know this story. See, this story, this is so interesting that we all said my brother's keeper, because this is the foundation of the human story. The foundation of human story where we can originate from heaven, move out because of a choice, and then continue to make choices to become a certain kind of people. And God continues to talk to them, but notice this, right? God is still talking to them even though they're kicked out of heaven. Did you notice that? So when he severed the relation, the entrance to heaven, he said, okay, now because Adam and Eve sinned, you are, in this one sense, spiritually dead. I'm still talking to you. God is still talking to their offsprings. And he's saying, hey, don't do this. And he says, where is your brother? And he goes, hey, am I my brother's guardian? Am I supposed to be taking care of him? Am I his babysitter, as some translations say? But the Lord said, what have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the what? The ground. And Paul, the writer of Hebrew, brings it back around. He says, hey, Abel's life and his faith is still calling out. So the question is, what is he saying? What kind of faith? If last week the idea was that we need to move from a logical faith to an irrational faith, where we believe God and step into the impossible things and invisible things, then Abel's faith and Cain's faith tells us a story. There's a Cain faith which brought some to the Lord. And if you and I are tempted to live in this Cain faith, we are tempted to just bring some of our effort and some of our compassion and some of our passion and some of our risk and some of our courage to everything we do. Have you ever been in a conversation and while you were talking, you left the conversation in your mind? Come on, you know this. You know this. You know this. And sometimes you get caught, sometimes you don't. Sometimes they go, and you know, right? And you go, right. You were somewhere else. You didn't want to be there. You're not fully present. Has someone ever told you that? Hey, I want you to be what? Fully present. I wonder if Cain's faith was basically, I bring some of myself to everything I do. So right now, I'm in this season of my life, and I don't like it. So I'm just going to bring some of myself to it. I'm just going to bring some of it. It's like it's this idea of like if you play words, if you play this cute game with words or something. It's like the Cain faith is, what can I get away with? What can I do? What can I do that's good enough? And I think some of us, especially when you have spirituality put in there, there is this idea that we are spiritual people, but we just do what we can get away with. That there's a sum that we're bringing. And the problem is that Cain's faith is a faith that God sees. It's a faith that God sees when we do it as well. And he basically says, hey, it's not that I wanted you, it's not that I like lamb better than I like fruits and vegetables. God's not saying, hey, I don't like vegans. Write that down. He's not saying that. He's saying you just brought some of yourself to me. So when you give to your job, right? And you just give some of yourself to your job, doesn't everybody love that? No. If you've ever led something and you have team members who just bring some, because it's a Cain faith, what can I get away with faith? I just bring some. You're not in the moment, what can I just get away with? And how do I compare with everybody else? So when you bring this idea to your marriage, what can I do? What can I get away with? Just some of mine. Okay, it's not all of me, it's what? Some of me. And here's the problem with all versus some. Some of you is a pretend you. Because you have to pretend in the moment that you're giving what? All. So you have to be in this moment. You have to play this game. And the problem is God looks at this formation of humanity and says, hey, this kind of faith is dangerous. Because here's where it leads to. It leads to anger. I didn't get away with this. It's a professor who looks at your work and says, I'm not going to accept this. You can do better. You can do better because I see you and you can do better. You can do better. You can do better and you don't like it. He's like, why? Because here's the problem. The sum of you, the pretend you, that you is going to compare yourself to everybody else. And you're going to get angry because you think that they're getting away with something which you want to be getting away with. They're just doing a better job pretending. You think that people are always pretending, and so they're like, well, how are they getting away with this? And God says, hey, you don't want to become this person. This leads down a really dark door. And what happens? With him, he commits the first murder, the first killing in the Genesis story of humanity. He kills his own brother because of this anger, this bitterness of why. And all it was is that he kept on bringing some effort, passion, faith, vulnerability, just some to everything he did. Everything he did. Because at some point, he thought some was enough. It was enough. It was good enough. It was good enough. It was good enough. And then God says, oh, I accept Abel's. Because Abel brought his what? His best. Now this kind of faith, the Abel faith is like, oh, what is the best I'm able to do? What is the best I am able to bring to this moment? What is the best thing? What am I able? Let's go. What am I able? I mean, I can't be the best, but I can do my best. It's not the greatest thing. Could you imagine if we lived our lives not attempting things because we weren't going to be the best? How many of you struggle with this? If you can't be the best, you don't even want to try it. Okay, we got a few people, right? You just don't want to try it. You don't want to try it. Could you imagine you wouldn't do anything? Because there's always better people doing what you do so much better. Could you imagine? Oh my gosh. And that is the struggle, isn't it? The struggle is because Abel's faith says, I'm going to just bring whatever I'm able to bring. My best, the best of my flock. It's not the best flock in the world, but it's my flock. And here's the thing. I'm not pretending. I'm not bringing some of me. I'm bringing the best of me, which I'm bringing what? All of me. Which what? I'm not pretending. I'm bringing the real me. I'm the real me. And here's the problem. The problem is if you created anything, if you built anything, if you tried something, even if you cooked something and you've done your best effort, it's scary, isn't it? Have you ever made something and you're like, and here it is. And people at your home are like, okay, that's it. You're not going to eat that again? No, I'm good. We're good. Why does it hurt so bad? Because it was what? Your best. It was all of you. So I paint and all that, and man, I have to go to therapy to do an art piece. Like some of the pieces out there, all of them were like my idea, but then had so much help doing it. But man, I'm walking in going, who's looking in front? What do you guys think? Like, I'm pretending, I'm like, so what do you guys think about this? I don't want to tell anybody who it is, but hey, do you like it? They're like, the eyes. I'm like, what's the eyes? It's art. What eyes? Why don't you go, don't come here anymore. You know, I'm like, I get all judgy. I do. Anything I've done, oh my gosh, the first time my book came out, right, years ago, oh my gosh, the comments on Amazon and all that, I stopped reading them. I'm like, you don't even know anything, okay? Whatever. You don't know Jack, okay? Don't give me a 4 stars, it's 5 stars. Like, what? Don't give me that. It's awesome. It's awesome. Why? Because I'm putting what? It's not some of me, it's what? And when you're all in, you're vulnerable. And God says, let me give you a faith that you need to live by and on. Not a Cain faith. What can I get away with? No, an Abel faith that says it's all of me. Hey, it's not the best. I know. I'm putting all of me in this. But I'm going to attempt to do this. And that, my friends, is scary. It's so much easier to call it in. Oh, I get that. Because life gets hard. For me, like college was extremely hard. It was for multiple reasons, okay? Language barriers, learning disabilities, all that jazz. I get that. But I realized early on I could bump up my GPA by taking certain electives. Electives are from Jesus. They're God's gift to you. Right? They're God's gift to you. For me, I was like, I need solid A's. If there's an A++++, I need one of those to bump that GPA up. Okay, so I'm like, what can I take that is not like, sailing? Like sailing, I can't afford that. Okay, what can I do? And then they had a subject called Arabic. What? I'm Pakistani. What? I speak Urdu. That's what I told the professor. Yeah, and I do. I'm Pakistani. I speak Urdu, my native language. But I was just happened to be born and raised in Kuwait, and I speak Arabic. But hey, let's leave that alone. So I go into class. Yes, I did this. What? Don't judge me. College wasn't online, people. So I was like, I walk in. He's like, oh, Naeem Fazal. I'm like, yes, Naeem Fazal. And he's like, okay, great. And then a couple of times he was like wanting to figure out how people, where they were in the language and all that. They're like, can you read this? So I started reading, and he was like, oh, he's like, hold on. Do you speak Arabic? And so he was like, تكلم عربي? So I was like, بشوية. عشان أنا Pakistani. And he was like, you speak Arabic? And I was like, yeah, don't tell anybody. I know. I need this A, okay? I need this. So yeah, I got straight A's. Oh yeah, I took Arabic all the way through, helped me out. And you know what? At the end of it, I'll tell you what happened. I gained no friends in the class. No friends. I remember the final, I literally came in about 10, 15 minutes late, was done in about 10 minutes or so, or 20 minutes, whatever, and walked out of class. And when I walked out of class, because I was the first one out, all the students looked at me like, we are trying our best, you are the worst. You're not even trying. And then my college, what do you call it, counselor, in the middle of like me taking it the first semester or one of the classes, she was like, hey, so I really think you should switch to another because you're doing really great here. You should probably take French. You shouldn't take Arabic because you already know it. Clearly, this woman does not have an idea, clearly, of what I'm trying to do, okay? I am not trying to do my best in college. I am just trying to get away and pass. That's all I'm trying to do. But I realized that I changed and became a certain kind of person. Let me ask you this. What are you not attempting? I know you're busy. I know you're doing a lot of things, but could it be possible that a lot of the things that you are doing just really don't require all of you? They just require some of you. And you have enough talent for that. Like you have enough talent for that. How many of us have basically relied on talent because we don't need to work hard now? You already have the skill, so you don't have to put in the effort. You take the job, not that challenges you, but because you know you can do it. It's easy money. It's whatever. It's all good. What kind of person becomes that? And do you think that actually just stays at work? No, it doesn't. It spreads everywhere in our life. So there are some things that I think you need to attempt to do. I know that there are some things that you cannot step into unless you partner with other people. And it's scary to ask for help. But maybe you need to do that. So if you're going to be given a choice to live a Cain life versus a Abel life, an Abel faith, what are we going to choose? You know that when we leave this place, everything around us will tell us, don't live the Abel faith. I mean, be the best version of yourself, but don't give your best. And that's a very different kind of life, isn't it? It's extremely different. Especially when you have to ask for help. It's so scary to do that. So let me just tell you that we are trying to attempt something as a church, as a community. We've talked to our volunteers about this. People know about this. We've been dreaming about this. And I'll tell you what, it took a minute for me to dream about this because I did not know if we were going to ever attempt this after COVID. And the reason is because we have a dream of really expanding our care for our community, our impact for our community. And the reason I say that is because if you walk in, there is no sign that says Mosaic Church on the building. There's always been a Hope Center. It's always said Hope Center. And the reason is because we want to be the epicenter of hope here for our city. And it's been a long journey, and I wish we were further on. But we have an opportunity to do something, and attempt something. And I want to show it to you. I want to show you a video, and it kind of tells you the opportunity that we have before us and how you can be a part of it. Let's watch this.
All right, so here we are. Yes, what is this place? You're probably wondering. Let me show you around. You see all these cars, you see all these trucks. What about all this stuff? You're like, what is this? By the way, is that your Porsche, Naeem? No, it's not. I wish. Still praying about that one, but no, it's not. All this stuff actually belongs to different people because we've been able to use this space. And by the way, this is Mosaic space. We got this in the middle of a pandemic and then turned it into its big storage unit, basically for people to rent out and put their stuff here. And so this has been really great because it was a solution to a problem that our community, our city has, because people need a place like this. This was not the only place during the pandemic that we used strategically. We've used all our facilities in a very practical way to serve the needs for our community. So check out what the Hope Center looks like during the week. Check out the foyer. Look at this. I mean, did you know that it looked like that? How about, let's go to the classroom, the kids' classroom. Look at this. Look at all that stuff. What's going on here? Look at the auditorium. Let's look at the loft here. Wow, what's going on? Well, what's going on is that there's a Montessori school that rents out our facility and they meet here. And then we clean it all up for the weekend. Yes, it seems like a lot of stuff. And guess what? It is. In fact, do you remember our next generation space? Yes, we converted that space, and now let me show you this. Yeah, the school uses this as well. In fact, other churches uses our facilities, organizations use our facilities, and in the middle of the pandemic, we were able to actually help launch 2 other churches because we use our facilities for good. Well, why am I telling you all of this? Because what I am standing in right now, we want to turn into a gymnasium. Yes, see, a gymnasium for our community to use for different kinds of sports, volleyball, soccer, basketball. And we've got a school that wants to partner with us. So how do you and I step into this? How do we partner? Well, we want to raise $500,000. Yes, 500K people. Yes, we want to do this, and I think we really can. Actually, I know we can if we do it together. And so I want you to partner with us, and let's invest in the future, and let's be the church that creates spaces not just for ourselves, but for other people. In fact, we want to actually go after another space as well. I know you're like, what are you doing? Well, here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create a Hope Center, and we want to be the epicenter of hope for our city, and yes, even for our world. So join us.
All right. Yes. Okay. So yeah, some of you guys are like, okay, yeah, yes, yeah. It's super scary. It's super scary to attempt to do this, but I know we can. I know we've attempted even bigger things, and that's why we're sitting in the big thing that we attempted years and years ago. So I really do believe that we can do this. But we are going to continue to have conversations about this and in detail about how you and I can help. And what I do want you to do is, I do want you to, especially on this, I want you to pray about this. Like, if you have been just coming, I get that. You're still trying to figure it out. But for those of you who've been coming for a while, I want you to seriously and sincerely pray. Pray how you can be a part of this. What is your part? And that's all I ask. I ask this because I just want you to pray. And if you pray and God says, hey, I don't want you to be a part of this, I don't want you to be a part of this campaign, I don't want you to give anything, then don't give. But if you get a maybe you should, then maybe it's a scary thing, I'm not quite sure, maybe you need to lean into that. But all I'm asking, for those of you who are watching as well, just to pray. Because if you lean in and try to hear what God's saying, that's when you hear God calling you to more. And so, if we were to wrap this up today, what is God saying to you? What is God saying? Is God convicting some of us to go, you know what? You know what? What's happening right now? You're just putting some of yourself into everything you're doing. Some of yourself to everything you're doing. And here's what you're waiting on. You're waiting for the next best opportunity where you're actually going to give your best. And then there's some of us that God's saying, no, here's what I want you to do. I want you to move to this place. And this place is about not doing just some. It's the best you can do. Because you're not going to wait for the next opportunity. You're going to create the next opportunity in your life. And you can wait your whole life just trying to wait on the next best thing, or you can begin to create the next best thing in your life. And friends, I think that's the faith that God wants you and I to step into. So what does it look like for you to do that? Let's live a life and let's attempt some things that are just super scary. That are like, I'm not quite sure how we can do this. But let's put all of ourselves out there. Because if you don't put all of yourself, then you're going to put a pretend self. And let me just say this as I end. God wants to restore you. God wants to speak to you. He wants to heal you. He wants to bring everything back and to bring closure to you. He wants to forgive you. But he can't do that to the pretend you. Did you hear me? He can't heal a pretend you. He can't forgive a pretend you. He can't restore a pretend you. He can't do anything with a pretend you. But a real you, and all of you, he can do anything with. Anything with. He just wants you to be fully present. Bring the best you are able to bring. So, this morning, maybe what you need to do is just come to him with this able faith that says, hey, God, this is who I am. And let's just see what God does. Let me pray for you. Lord God, I thank you so much for who you are and what you're calling us to. God, for some of us, this has been something that you've already been saying. You've already been saying to us. For others of us, this is reminding us that this is a talk, this is an idea that the people around me, the particular people in my life right now, they need to hear this. Because they find themselves frustrated, angry, bitter, mad at the world. The system is corrupt. They can't get out of their life. And they're just mad at the world and angry at everything. And all they want to do is destroy everything. And part of the problem is they've lived their life just bringing some of who they are. Because it's so scary giving all to this work, all to this season. Because we don't love this season, God. We don't love all of it. We don't love every part of where we are in life. And so therefore, we don't want to bring all of it. But God, remind us today that if we don't want to end up bitter, frustrated, feeling that we can never step into some really amazing things, let us not live in that faith. God, let us move to an able faith that says, I'm going to bring my best. It's not the best, it's just my best. This is what I'm able to do. And I'm going to bring my real self, not my pretend self. I'm going to do my best. And I have been let down before. I have given my best, and everybody else does not do their best. I've poured out in this relationship. I keep on pouring out in this relationship. I keep giving all of myself. And God, I'm just so tired of it. But God, as you reminded us even last week, let's not get weary of doing good. Because we know we're going to reap a harvest. God, we know that this kind of faith is the faith that people talk about. Abel had no idea that he was going to be mentioned years and years and years ago, years later, by Paul. He had no idea. He was just living his life. God, remind us, motivate us to live the Abel kind of faith, knowing, God, that we don't even know with our life, our actions are communicating so many things to our kids, to our loved ones, to our family, to the team that we are leading. God, our willingness to do the best, be present in the moment, bring the best of ourselves in every moment. God, it leaves a lasting mark on people. And Father, I pray that when it comes to us and you, in our relationship with you, we do not pretend, we don't have a pretend relationship with you. We have a real relationship with you. And it starts with saying, Jesus, I give you my life. I don't give you like the pretend me. I give you all of me. The real me, all of me. Which might not be a lot. But I give you everything. God, I pray that some of us would pray that as we're watching. Say, Jesus, I give you all of me. All that I'm able, I give to you. I give to you. God, I pray that as we sing this last song, as people go and receive communion, they might go light a candle, they might just sit in their seats. God, I just pray that there would be a strong sense of you speaking the next couple of minutes. God, thank you.